Hey guys, Omni here. I just got back from seeing Antlers. It is finally in theaters. This movie was originally supposed to come out April 17th, 2020, but like many other projects around the time, it ended up getting pushed back and delayed, but it's finally out in the ether if you want to check it out. This is directed by Scott Cooper, who I'm not familiar with as far as his directorial or written work goes. Turns out, after looking through his filmography, I know him from one thing. He was in an episode of The X-Files as one of the characters in it. Just a nice little throwback, because not only that connection is in there, but there's also a particular location, which we've seen actually quite a lot here on the channel. There's a particular location that you will be quite familiar with that pops up in here that I knew initially from X-Files, but I've seen it pop up on the Arrowverse and a lot of the shows that we cover here on the channel. It's just always, it's starting to like take me out of it every time I see this house now. I'm like, damn, this house gets some work. But this film was produced by Guillermo del Toro, David S. Goyer, and it definitely has Guillermo del Toro's flavor to it, and I can see why he opted to produce this flick. The story itself centers around a teacher, her brother, and a young child named Lucas. The teacher is played by Keri Russell, and she's left this small town previously due to some family trauma that occurred way back in her past, but has finally found the strength and courage to return home to finally be back with her brother once again. She takes up teaching at the local school, and that's where she encounters this kid, Lucas, played by Jeremy T. Thomas. And from this point forward, she starts to notice some similar signs of abuse that she recognizes herself from her own past in this child. And as they learn a little bit more about what this child is dealing with, things take a little bit of a turn and start to unravel this supernatural mystery and creature that this kid might be sheltering. This is alluded to in the trailer, so that's the official synopsis of the movie, so I hope that's not too much of a spoiler. Her brother, played by Jesse Plemons, is the local sheriff on the town as grisly murders and attacks start to break out in the town. All they can imagine is that a creature of some sort is on the loose. If you're familiar with the lore, the trailer itself, the name of the movie as well, there's a lot of hints as to what kind of creature this is, but if you want to be surprised, if you want to see for yourself, I'm going to leave that mystery for you guys. This movie is steeped in tone, in mood, and this isolated small town setting. You feel the isolation in every shot and every scene, from the way that people interact with one another, the way that people kind of know everybody in the town, and there's a lot of this kind of way things have always been in these small town situations where it's really kind of hard to make a lot of movement or headway in anything. Like, this is kind of one of the struggles that Jesse Plemons as sheriff is kind of struggling with particularly Lucas's father. This leads to a lot of hesitation as these things begins to escalate. This movie is very well shot. I think most of the acting is really good. I think Jeremy T. Thomas is a standout in this. Jesse Plemons is amazing in everything. This movie was a creature feature through and through, and it's really lives into that. The body horror, the creature design, the practical effects on the set, as well as some of the special effects that they add into this. It's very well masked and hidden in the mood, and the lighting and the shadows are utilized in brilliant ways. And this movie, I think, excels, especially with bringing this creature and keeping it in the shadows until the right moment. And it is a sight to be seen. I quite enjoyed this film for what it was. I thought it was well shot, and the horror elements of this were really well handled. The suspense, the thrills, the rising tension as everything starts to escalate, the eerie, uncomfortable nature of what is happening in this small town is really well done. There's only a few things in the movie, for me in particular, that didn't quite work, and not enough to like distract from the movie, but there's like this. They start to touch a little bit more on Keri Russell's character's trauma from before. We get some flashes of her father. We get some disconnected sequences from her memory that never really have like a payoff down the line. It's just like these minor distractions throughout the story that add really nothing overall to what we are experiencing. There's even like an attempt to dive into her brother's trauma after she left the family and what happened there with him and their father. And again, that's something they don't touch on ever again either. I don't know if there's extra scenes in here that didn't get filmed or they got cut, Maybe there's an extended edition to this. I don't know, but there's a couple of elements that are just left in here that just leave me like, why was this left in here? Because it doesn't add to the story or move anything forward. We know she's experienced trauma at the hands of abuse. It didn't need to really go beyond that, because everything else kind of implies everything we need to know about her and why she's able to empathize with Lucas in his current situation. So some of that stuff was a little just kind of distracting. And then when we get to the exposition scene of where our characters are that we're following learn what this creature is, you always have like that scene in a lot of these supernatural movies, and a lot of times is they just Google a thing and then they're like, oh, it was this, this, and this, and it happens in this particular situation. This is exactly how we have to kill it. And we have one of these scenes with the previous sheriff, who is also an indigenous person to this area, who explains what this creature is, and in a way over explains in a way that kind of gets a little clunky. The scene is just not handled all that well. The performances are fine. It's just I feel like the dialogue was overwritten to the point where it just starts to drag on and ramble in a way that actually it doesn't make things more suspenseful. It doesn't add any weight to anything else. It just kind of goes on and halts the movie for just a second. Immediately after that, things kick right back into the gear. I think this is a solid horror flick to go check out. I don't know if I would necessarily run out to the theaters and check it out, but this is definitely a recommended from me. If you like creature features, if you like body horror, if you love Guillermo del Toro's style, I think it's a solid horror flick. I think it's a solid creature feature. It just needed a little more streamlining in the script and the final product. Like I said, I think there's a couple of moments here and there that I think could just be trimmed out, and this movie would be a lot tighter, flow very smoothly, and just be like a solid A+ creature feature. But as it is, I'd give it a B. But guys, that's my thoughts on the movie. I'd love to know what you thought if you've checked it out. So sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Feel free to join our Discord. Links to that on my socials in the description below. Before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Manny Share, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, Yori Korskov, Margaret Grace, Peeling Zim, Mary Bradley, and Jeffrey Hale. Thank you guys so much for your support. Well, that's been this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.